Oh, good morning, everybody, and welcome to ITHive's Facebook Live Saturday morning tech talk. Um, Today, I'm going to go over a little bit more about the services I offer and also answer questions that might come up. People have technical questions; doesn't even have to be. Could be about anything. I'll just begin. So the service that I give my customers is, as we talked a little bit about it in session 1 last week, but I'll go a little bit more in depth. So the core is, for every computer, we charge a $12 fee, a monthly fee, and what that gives my customers is a whole bunch of things. And one is it pays for licensing for professional grade software to manage their computer, and very powerful tool here. It tells me when there's any technical problems on their computer in real time, so I can see that. It uploads performance statistics and stuff like that, so I can really get a good sense for the health of the computer. And where this is really important from a tech perspective is that, as I talked about in episode 1, in past lives, when I walked onto a site or went to a customer's home or a computer, they had a problem, but it was very hard for them to articulate how that problem came about, right? What was the cause? Where did it start? And very often that, could have happened 3 months ago, 6 months ago. So as a tech, even the most seasoned, it's very hard to, figure out what's going on. So that $12, gives, allows me to put licensed professional grade software on my customer's computer that will report to me. And so I don't have any of that guesswork. I don't have to ask my customers technical questions, what happened to cause it, whatnot, and stuff, because we're dealing with problems when they're small and when they first occur, right? And also by nature of those things, they're easy to solve, right? And it gives me an opportunity to jump in and prevent disasters from happening, and also provide some education if that's required, to help prevent that situation from happening again. All those things are there. The other thing that the $12 a month gives my customers is access to me. When I have a customer reaching out to me with a question or a problem or so, I give that priority to get back to them, right? Much more so than anyone else, right? Just because they're under my care. This is a relationship that I'm looking after them, right? And so they get that, okay? Access, right? To address any issues they have or questions or whatnot. The thing that would also happen for this $12 a month is they get education, training, basically anything they really need. It's a relationship that we're making here, not just from a technical perspective, like their technology reporting back to me, their health and stuff like that, but also a relationship on a human level as well, right? And I can provide that level of service, because they have subscribed to a membership and they've enrolled a piece of technology in the services that I offer. The other thing I do for that $12 a month is I bill all my customers once a month on the anniversary when they started, and it's non-contractual, so they can stop the service at any time. I don't play the cell phone game where I'm tying people in for 3 years, or even giving somebody a special deal as long as they sign up for a year and all that stuff. I don't do that, right? You, as a customer, have subscribed to my service because you value what I'm doing, right? And if that value is not there, or the perceived value is not there, I'm okay with customers, leaving, right? I can't be everything to everyone, right? I'm doing my best to help people not have problems and to educate people so that they can use their technology effectively and not be frustrated. But, there's limits to that, I guess, right? It would be the good way to say. So back to the billing. So when I bill somebody, I don't just produce an invoice and send it to them, right? Before I do any of that invoicing stuff, I have a process where I go through in very fine detail all the things that have happened in the past 30 days. And I look for trouble, right? So I look for performance issues. I look for anything else that small things that would have not alerted as being a big crisis, but could be potential of something happening, right? And, look for anything that I might have missed or anything like that. And they have an online health report, which I've tried very, very hard to make it more customer focused than tech focused. But I basically update the health of all the technology I look after, right? And if things are not quite working right or broken or whatnot, they see that in the report, right? And I'll follow up with some action items that need to be taken. What's very important here, and for customers or soon-to-be customers, the one thing I do is I educate and I encourage people, but the relationship is a shared one in looking after the health of the computer. I'm not asking any of my customers to be techs, of course not, right? But what I am asking my customers to do is to be responsible and aware of the things that need to happen on their computer. And if I'm telling them that they have a problem, they need to look at that and assess that for themselves. And if they want it addressed and fixed, they can simply book an appointment, which slots in a time for me to give it dedicated attention, and we resolve the issue, right? So all that for $12, right? Now, let me be clear, just so that there's no confusion, okay? The $12 does include 5 minutes of free support time a month. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but what happens is that that $5 adds up. That 5 minutes adds up. It never expires. So throughout a year, you would accumulate an hour, right? The reason I did that is that I wanted to add a little bit more value behind that $12, and the issue that people will run into, if they very often, if I'm looking after their stuff, we stabilize it and it works well, right? And nothing is broken or anything like that. But they're still getting time added to their time bank, so to say. And what always happens with computers, even if you stabilize them or so, emergencies or unplanned events occur, right? And that's when they might need a little bit more of my time. Well, because they've accumulated time in their bank, right? They might have an emergency or a problem or so and not have to pay anything extra, right? Just depends how much time it takes. So that's what I want to be clear about, is that, the $12 gives you all this stuff, but there could be additional charges for hourly work, okay? But that is really dedicated time on my part to actually look into a problem and resolve it and follow it up to completion. And that's up to the customer to say, yeah, okay, I recognize this is an issue and I'd like to get it, looked after. So that's the $12. I'm trying to think of if there's anything else that I've missed in that. It's really the cornerstone. I can't do any work for anybody unless I have that in place, right? I don't do one-offs. So kind of wants a relationship where they call when they have a problem, and then I fix it and go away, and then we wait years and years later, or months and months later, and then they call again when they have another problem. That's not what I do, right? I don't believe in that. I think it's a poor way to deliver IT services. There has to be a level of trust with the customer and the tech providing the support. There has to be a relationship. There has to be understanding and knowledge of what happens in the past, to cause problems. How can I possibly provide a good level of service if I'm just jumping in there like a white knight, taking care of everything, and then disappearing again, leaving the customer to, eventually end up in the same boat that the same actions could follow through, and then they end up in the same problem, right? And in today's world, that's just, you just don't want to do that, right? I'd rather be providing a service that I'm educating people, I'm teaching them, I'm helping them grow with their technology, be more confident, right? And, in my existing customer base, I see this all the time, right? And I don't think I've shared this story, but this is a good one that underlines it. When Windows 10 came out, I know people are still going to say, "Oh, Windows 10 terrible," and all that stuff. But you know what? Look, right? I don't subscribe to the hype. Windows 10 is a fine product. It had a little bit of bumpy start, and I was holding off on deploying that. But here's where my story goes, right? So I was waiting for Microsoft to stabilize Windows 10 when they were giving it away for free, and I wasn't rolling it out to my customers, right? We were just holding back and waiting till it was actually a really good product. And one of my customers, who's an author and a senior, decided, the only caveat to this, I wish she had talked to me first, but she decided to implement Windows 10 on her own, right? And we had an online session after, and oh, hey, you applied Windows 10. Wow, that's a little early. Why'd you do that? And she said, this was her response to me. She said, well, Chris, I just decided to go ahead and upgrade it to Windows 10 because, I know that if I got in trouble, I got you to help me. So, and this is somebody who's very, used to be very timid with technology, and I'm happy to see that the confidence was there to go ahead and do something, right? Like that, the caveat in the perfect world would have been better if she had just, reached out to me and said, hey, I want to do this. Is that okay? Because I might have held her off on another month or so. But nonetheless, to say that story had a good ending. There was no issues, no problems, stuff like that. But it underlines what my customers get, and I talked about this a little bit last week, but I'm increasingly frustrated as a tech to hear these stories where people have been ripped off by the charlatans on the internet, claiming to help people, or calling people randomly and telling them they have a virus, which is a total crock. If that ever happens, there's no way anybody's going to know that you have a virus unless you're paying them to know, right? If you're not paying somebody to know that you have a problem and they call you and tell you you have a problem, they're a scam. Okay, hang up the phone right away. Don't even waste time with them, right? Depending on your character, if you want to play with them a little bit, well, you can do that too. That's what I do. And waste their time, right? Just if you have time to do that, that's always fun, right? I've done that before in the past. It's a great hoot. I love sticking it to the charlatans, right? So so anyway, that's $12, and really, I think there's a lot of good value there. You pay it monthly, right? And then you've started the journey to have worry-free technology support and not be frustrated anymore. That's simply what we're after here, and increasing people's knowledge and understanding of technology and how it works, and maybe debunking some of the myths that are out there too, right? That's all I'm here for, right? To help. And you can, it's, as you saw clearly, right? My customers can engage at whatever level with me they want, right? I have some clients that are very, very independent, and I never hear from them, right? Some in some cases have, accumulated more than, they just have one machine on in my service, and they've accumulated more than an hour's worth of support time, and that's great. I actually use that as a measure. I think I might have talked about this in episode 1, but the less hourly time I'm working with my clients, right? I look at that as a positive. If that's going down, right, we're doing the right thing. Or in the very, very best case, it's stabilized, right? And I measure that and keep an eye on that for all my customers individually, because I want to know. I think it's very important, and all business owners should have this. We don't always hear from customers if they're happy or unhappy, or hear about improvements that we could do. But if you measure things internally, right, especially the right things, you can hopefully always be in a state of improving the service that you're offering, right? And so that's what I do. I measure a lot of statistics, all about numbers and stuff, and it's not about necessarily the health of my system, but the health of my numbers. And of course, that's important when you run a business. You have to make money. That's essential. But I also measure things that are important to the client, right? How much they're spending every month. Is that going down? Is it going up? Why are the cases of this? Is there time that they need be increasing every month, or is it going down, or is it stabilizing, right? This puts me in a position to advise my clients on maybe different things they could do to make the cost of my service better and more affordable for them, right? And so I'm always on board for that, right? I think that we all should be paying the proper amount for the things we get, right? And so I know it sounds crazy that I would, actually encourage clients to spend less with me. But here's the thing, right? It's a trust thing. It's a relationship thing. And if I've stabilized somebody's computer or given the customer more knowledge to be independent and to be able to do things on their own, yeah, sure, that takes revenue from me. But the thing that happens here is that people will tell other people, right? And that's what I'm looking at, referrals, right? I want to serve as many customers as possible. I've got a lot more room. I can do a lot more work where we're at now, right? I'm not in a position yet to be bringing on other techs or growing this business beyond me. I think there's a lot more bandwidth in the service I can provide, especially the way I'm doing it, right? Because I'm always dealing with things when they're small. There's more I can support. There's more time in my day. I can add more systems. So, and I figure, I don't know exactly, but from what it looks like, I could support about 500 computers just myself, right? And when we get to that level, I'll have figured out all the business processes behind the scenes, and I'll be looking for other techs that want to do what I do the same way I'm doing it, right? And they too can support a number of computers effectively, and with a human backing there, right? I feel very strongly about that. So yeah. So anyway, I think that's going to be it for today. I'm going to keep these things short. If every Saturday I do this, at 10 a.m. Eastern, and when I have people that have questions or so, then maybe we'll put this on a little bit more. And I don't see any questions right now, so we'll call it a session. And I encourage everybody to get out there and join me live. Next Saturday at 10 o'clock. We can get some more real live engagement going on. I think next Saturday I'm going to talk about other services I offer. Probably focus more on the antivirus service. Like any other thing that I do, the antivirus service is a service that reports its health back to me, so I know when these things are going. So just want to remind, and I've got a listener here is reminding me that if you have questions, right, and you missed this video or so, you can do two things. If you're watching this on YouTube, right, put a question in the comments below, right? More than happy to engage that and help if I can. And on my Facebook page, facebook.com, ITHive.org, you can also leave me comments, questions there, like the page, and you'll get notifications when these things happen and anything else I post. All right. So anyway, I'm going to sign out now, and we will talk to you guys next Saturday at 10 or sooner. All right. See ya. Have a good weekend. Bye.